Welcome back. Stocks posting modest gains so far this year. Among the standouts, certainly technology. The sector is one of the best performers in 2016, up more than 9% this year. What names should you look to put your money in, and what happens next with the markets and economy? My next guest says stick with the winners that you've been seeing. Joining us right now is Mark Lehmann. He is the president of JMP Securities. Good to see you, Mark.
Thanks, Maria.
Thanks so much for joining us. So, okay, we have a lot to talk about in business this morning, a lot of headlines, but let's start right there in terms of investing. How do you allocate capital?
I think the market has obviously hit new highs, but at a very quiet, unemotional high. It's been low volatility, not a lot of volume. We've been very at JMP, very busy with some of the tech companies that we've been involved with over the last few months and quarters. I think you're going to want to stick with the winners. We've been talking about that for a while. You have Apple and Facebook and other ones like that who have done extremely well. You haven't seen a slowdown in your business. And one theme we keep talking about at JMP is Internet economics really leads to monopolies, and it's kind of really interesting to watch what's happened with these companies as they've gotten bigger. Actually, they've gotten stronger. Their business has accelerated, and I think that trend is not decelerating. You want to stick with those names. So
we were going to wait to talk about Apple, but this is one of your recommendations, so let's go right there. What's your take on this EU charge here?
I think this is an easy target. I think this is not hard to predict that different jurisdictions are going to look for tax revenue where they can. Apple's not exactly a sympathetic target. People are seeing them and seeing where they domicile and making sure that they get their fair share. If I were an Apple investor, I'd be a little worried, but at the end of August, for a little headline, I'm not sure I'm that worried. I'd be more worried about the Apple 7 launch, which is coming next month.
Look, Apple says it's going to appeal this, but doesn't this remind you of a deja vu when Microsoft got bigger and bigger and bigger? They were the target of the EU. You get bigger, you're in the eyes and the crosshairs of the EU.
Absolutely. And what other companies are at risk for the EU going after them? And is it a business risk? Apple, huge amount of cash, really untouchable. But what about other tech companies that would be in the crosshairs?
If you see one, you're probably going to see more, right? Rarely do we see one of these as it relates to any topic. I think you're going to find tech companies and healthcare companies, frankly, that have domiciled over there where the lowest tax rates are. But Ireland wants these companies there. Ireland clearly for years, Apple and Ireland have had a long history and employed a lot of people. So I would expect more and more jurisdictions to find targets, but these companies are very well prepared for this, and I don't expect this to be a big theme.
And do you see Apple pushing back very hard? Obviously, they've been in the news pushing back on different government regulations. Is this another case where they take a stand?
I think it is. I mean, Tim Cook's already told you that that's what he wants to do, and they're well prepared for this, as is Ireland. Again, I expect this to take a long time. It's probably going to be settled for a far smaller amount, and I think this is going to be noise that we're not going to be paying attention to very, very shortly.
Well, but by the way, let's not forget how the U.S. got in the middle of the Pfizer-Allergan deal.
Oh, yeah.
Same reason,
yes.
Because taxes are so much lower in Ireland, and they blocked the deal.
Well, this is every company we're going to talk about is a global company, and more global. More percentage of the revenues are coming from overseas.
And why wouldn't you want to go have your corporate taxes at 15% or 13%?
It's a theme we're going to talk about for a while, and this theme we're going to talk about certainly in this election cycle as well. You're going to find what we have to get our fair share, but the companies where they're domiciling clearly want these companies to be based there because they're getting major advantages. Ireland's gotten Apple employees there for a long, long time. That's not going to change.
So stay on M&A for a second, because technology has been the space where we've seen consolidation. Who do you think is next?
I think you're going to see more and more in the software space. We've seen over a dozen deals in that space. This group was hit by about 50% in February. You saw over 13 deals in SaaS, which is a topic we've talked about a lot here, a sector that's very, very ripe for consolidation. Less so now because we had a couple successful IPOs recently in that space, and the valuations have corrected a great deal. But a perfect example of that is what we saw with LinkedIn. There was a catfight for that stock. Even Salesforce, which Mark Benioff wrote a personal letter to the chairman of LinkedIn and said, we're a better fit than Microsoft is. And it turned out in hindsight, LinkedIn did not go to Salesforce. But Mark Benioff was willing to bet a lot of his market cap and a lot of his cash to go after that company. It tells you those kind of jewels are getting huge, huge valuations. And LinkedIn, which at one time this year was really not a darling of the market, got taken over for a huge premium.
If Salesforce was ready to pay up for LinkedIn, is it now in the market looking for another deal?
I think so. I mean, I think they're going to have to play
So what's a similar deal as a LinkedIn?
That's a great question.
I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm not sure there is one.
Okay.
I mean, LinkedIn has such a huge market share, obviously, in what they do, and there have been some competitors that have tried. But, you know, Mark Benioff is a great acquirer, and I would expect him to continue to be on that path of leading in software.
All right. Mark, great to see you.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you so much. Mark Lehmann joining us there. Coming